Good morning, team. We are back with another episode of Cajun Tiger Plays. I'm Cajun Tiger, and we are working our way through Dyson Sphere Program. We are getting ready to build a Dyson Sphere, but we have a few issues to take care of. We're going to start here by expanding our ability to build, however, how many refineries we can build, and I will explain why we're doing this in just a few minutes. But first, we're going to grab 100 circuits, and we're going to grab all of the steel that's there, and we're going to put both of those in manually here. And that will help those refineries get built faster. Then we will come over here. We're going to expand the generators as well. We want to get 3 stacks of generators, and we'll talk about all of this in just a moment. Grab some steel here and some titanium. And let's see, we do not have our quantum chips right now, so we'll get those in a little bit. Let's grab some fuel. Oops. Top off our fuel there. Oops. All right. Clean up our inventory a little bit with some of this junk that we've collected over time. Always amazes me how much junk you end up collecting in this game. Just little bits and pieces here and there. Grab out of here some of the things that we're going to need going forward. Let's see, and we can put these back in. I don't think we're going to need those. And add that one. And then we want to build one more storage box here for finished products that we don't need. We are going to be heading out of our system. We are going to another system again. And the change in plans is that we are going to a different system than we had originally talked about. We've already been to whatever the system is. Pop out and look at it real quick. Zeta Lensis. We've already been there, and we were talking about going there to harvest this sulfuric acid. But I was doing a little research, and I noticed that we have Ceti, which is not that much further away. It has sulfuric acid ocean, but it also has 86.84 per second crude oil. If we compare that to Pixidus, which is where we are, our system. Oops, that's not. We want the whole system. Well, that's just going to give us Pixidus too. Let's click on the star. There we go. We only have 40 crude oil per second. So going to Ceti, even though it's a little bit further, we'll be able to get crude oil. Why does that matter, you ask? I'm glad you asked. Because we can use our plasma refining to create refined oil and hydrogen, and then we can use that refined oil and hydrogen to create X-ray cracking, which gives us even more hydrogen and gives us energetic graphite that we can use for energy, for power, which is why we expanded our generator creation. Okay, so in order to do that, we are going to need oil extractors. So we need 40 of these guys. We're going to make 10 of them. We need 60 circuits. We need 120 stone bricks, which we have, and we need 120 there, so we can make 10. I guess I should have just looked at the number over here on the side, and I would have seen that we can make 10. But I didn't. Okay, we also are going to want to make miners, advanced miners, for when we get back. Remember, we're going to Pixidus 1, where we have lava oceans, and we'll be able to use our thermal power generators. And we have the ability also to get a lot of titanium and a lot of iron that we can use to make steel, and we'll bring in the sulfuric acid from Ceti, and we'll use that to make this titanium alloy, which is what we need in order to make these frame materials, which we need a lot of. So let's get 10 of these miners. We'll probably make 10 more when we come back through before we go to Pixidus 1, just so that we have 20 of them, just in case. But we need 200 of the titanium alloy. We'll skip the frame materials for now. We need 50 more of those guys, which they are supermagnetic coils. They're right here. We can grab 50 of those. And we need 40 of our quantum chips, which is probably going to be the harder thing to get, and then we need 400 grading crystals. So we might be able to get our 40 chips. Looks like we've got a backlog here. Can we get 40? Yes, we can. All right. Oops. Well, that was weird. Okay, we have 38. We need 2 more. That was weird. I'm not quite sure what happened there. All right, and then we need 400 grading crystals because they use 40 grading crystals each. That's a lot. Okay, now we need also 100 of the frame material. So in order to make frame material, we need 400 of the carbon nanotubes. We only have 50. We are also going to need 100 of those 2 items, which we do have, silicon and titanium alloy. So let's grab another 350 of our carbon nanotubes, and we only got 40. Why did we only get 40? Did I type it wrong? I must have typed it wrong. Okay, that's all right. We need 360. There we go. Now we should be able to make 10 of our advanced miners, and we can. So we'll make those, and that will get that busy working. While that's working, we'll come over here and drop off some of these intermediary products that we don't want to be taking to another. Oops, I said drop off, not pick up. Drop these off here. We do want that hydrogen fuel rod. We want this as well. And I believe that's everything we want to drop off and leave here. Except we don't need to take this many bells with us. Okay.
Flight mode.
We're going to come down here. A couple more things we want to do. We'll pick up all of those guys, and that leaves us with, we need 3 more. We can get 2 from there. We're going to go ahead and grab that so we have a full stack, and I'm going to do our shout out for today. We are shifting gears slightly to do a shout out for another viewer. 3, 4, 5. We are going to shout out today for Larkbox8427, and the reason is because he told me that I can do this, which is really cool and really great and saves us some inventory space for some of these things that otherwise would take up an inventory slot. Now, when you're crafting, you cannot use the items that are in your logistics area over here. But just to be able to have them there is incredibly useful and keeps them out of our inventory. So that's a good thing, and thank you very much to Larkbox for reminding me or pointing that out. I don't think I knew that. Some of the other things that I've done, people have reminded me, and I will get to you if you reminded me of something. I'm going to try to do a shout out to everybody who's reminded me of something. But if you have tips or tricks, please let me know, because I can always use all the help I can get. But thanks to Larkbox, shout out to you for today's tip and a good use of our extra space in putting the inventory in that logistics section so that we have plenty of room in our inventory for other things. I'm desperately manually feeding our refinery build because I really want to get as many refineries as we can. I would love to be able to build a couple of arrays of refineries when we get to that Ceti planet. We are going to go ahead and clear settings on there, which is going to give us all the solar power. I do want to come back over here before we get too much further and pick up a couple more of these. Most of where we're going, we don't need wind power, but it won't hurt to have a little bit of it handy. And we are definitely going to want more foundations. So we'll pick up foundations here and here. That gives us a lot of foundations. And our general rule of thumb that we've talked about almost every time we come over here, we can always use more sorters. We're going to take all 3 stacks of those just in case. and we'll get the last of these. We'll get as many of these as we can. We'll let this run just for a little bit more. We do want to make sure that our internal power is at max before we launch. So, all right, that should be good. Let's get a stack of water pumps. We can put that down. We aren't going to be using our thermal generators. That stacks, looks like that's going to stack 50. Geothermal power station. Sorry, I've been calling them the wrong thing. Looks like that's going to stack at 50, so we'll reduce that to 2 stacks. All right, grab that last one. And we can top off power there. You know what, let's do, just in case, we'll probably be able to get this on the other planet as well, but we'll bring those two for fuel. We can put extra fuel items over here as well as our graviton lenses. None of that stuff, we're not setting any of it up in our logistics because we don't actually need to set it up. We can set it to don't provide. We're just using that as extra space to store things. So again, shout out to Larkbox for pointing that out. All right, into our map, and where is Ceti is here. So let's look at this system. The inner planet is the one that has a sulfuric acid. It does have solar energy of 140, but we don't want to do that first. We want to go to this planet, which is where all the crude oil is. It does have 100% wind energy, 80%, 88% solar, so that'll be enough to get us kicked off. It does have a lot of coal if we wanted to use that, but we don't necessarily need that right away. And let's see, did we remember? I think I remembered to update. Where am I? I'm lost, completely lost. There we go. Let's go this way. And did we do this? We did not. Okay, let's head to the pole. We'll leave in just a minute, but we want to update this with a sorter here, and then we can get rid of that and that, and we'll take a belt up this way. And I'll explain this in just a moment. Let's put a sorter there, and we'll get warpers coming in here because this is where we want hydrogen. Now we've got our warp distance set to 60 and require warpers. That means any hydrogen that's coming from more than 60 AU, it's going to require a warper for that hydrogen, or any item actually, regardless of whether it's hydrogen or not. So we definitely want warpers in here. All of our current interstellar logistics vessels are, well, one just got back, but most of them are occupied. You see all the blue, that stuff that's coming in, and we're supplying that to our other, well, we're supplying that locally. Remote demand is the stuff that's coming in. All right, let's head over to Ceti 2. And one thing to be aware of, we are traveling a little bit further this time, 3.8 light years. We'll push shift and get a little bit of speed up, but if you get too much speed up, your cruise, your warp will stop because you do need energy. So when I'm gonna say hit it, and we'll go into warp like we did before, and you can see the amount of energy is dropping. So we will lose energy as we warp. We should have enough to get there and maneuver a little bit once we get there, but just to be on the safe side, you don't want to build up your speed too much before you warp until we get more research. We are researching things that will help our energy use. So we are getting really, really close to Ceti 2, and boom, there we go. We are under 1 AU. We have just a tiny bit of power left. All right, so with all of that done, we will build several arrays if we can to take care of this. Again, unfortunately, it's not a one-to-one recipe. I wish it were, but it is not. We don't need all that refined oil. So Let's see, can we sneak a little bit extra speed in here? And we have traveled to our third system now. We are interstellar travelers.
Cruise ended.
Right, I don't think I've seen a planet that looks like this one before. That's kind of cool. All right, let's see. We remember we talked about for items coming into our planet, we put them on the North Pole. For items going out, we put them on the South Pole. So it looks like we want to go opposite side from where I was, which is, you guys should be familiar now, very typical of my landing patterns. I landed in the wrong hemisphere, but it's okay because we fly. So let's get up to our pole. We can set up some solar power and a little bit of foundation up here to get things started. We do have water on this planet, so it is going to mean we'd use up soil pile. Fortunately, we can get more soil pile. We can always go back to our other planet. What is it? Zeta Lensis. We can always go back there. Let's filter. Let's rearrange. Did I? Oh, I put them over here. I was getting really worried for a moment there. I thought maybe I had left our interstellar logistics stations at home, but we didn't. Okay, so we get our normal setup here, and then we're going to take some Tesla towers, and we'll go just, well, we'll have to only go to there. All right, let's see. We can do our foundations here. We'll just do like we did on the other planets, and we'll put these two rows here at this pole. We'll make these for solar panels. So you guys know what we're doing here. We've done it before. It's just 15, well, mostly 15 solar panels per row between these two between these prime meridians. So we will drop into a high-speed mode doing this, which will get us a little bit of power, and then when that is done, I will fly around as well and find the different. There's a coal vein over there. We saw a couple of crude oil seeps, and we'll fly around and get those marked and tagged with oil extractors and planetary logistics stations, so that then we can build our refinery builds. And we'll come back before we actually get to our refinery builds. That actually looks like silicon, but it's flowers. Look at that. Look at those flowers. That's just, sometimes this game is just amazing, and the beauty that it provides. So we can't do Tesla towers there because we're going to do solar panels. Okay, high speed mode while we do solar panels and get everything built and get our oil seeps tapped so that we can get oil and do everything we need to do here. All right, a couple things that we want to call out or point out while we're watching this high-speed video process all of our stuff. First of all, isn't it cool watching all of those bots fill in that stuff really, really quickly? I was helping a little bit, but the bots did a great job. So again, here we're using the single recipe just so we don't waste foundations. I did forget that we can put our wind turbines down without having to worry about foundations. So I wasted a few foundations there, and then I use foundations liberally as we're actually building stuff, which is not a good thing. We'll talk about it a little later. We do run out of foundations. I also forgot that I had to look at it briefly. This planet gives us more wind power than solar power, so we wanted to use the wind power more than the solar power. There's an example of me using foundations extremely liberally, and we'll bring our power in and power that up. Also, I am not putting drones in every single one of these planetary logistics stations because all we're doing right now is crude oil. So the crude oil will feed in. We'll put drones in our final uh, planetary logistics station where we process and use the uh, crude oil to create refined oil and hydrogen. We don't need drones all over the place yet. We will put more if and when we come back, and we probably will come back to this planet at some point. Like I said, we will run out of foundations. I'll mention it later in the episode. I did want to create multiple arrays doing the hydrogen. We are only going to create one. Ideally, I would love to be able to create four. We are getting plenty of uh, crude oil, and there is plenty more to get on this planet. We are actually 11 short for our extractors, our oil extractors. We could use 11 more of them. So we'll get more foundation, we'll get more oil extractors, and we'll get more refineries and foundation. Oh, I already said foundation. We'll get more of all of that and bring it back to this planet and duplicate exactly what we've already done, only to use more oil, use more graphite, and create more hydrogen for us. Okay, we're back at it and we're ready to go. We're going to come right down here and get started right away. Let's bring up our graph, and we're going to start right here. 5 by 5, there's 5 of those sections. This is kind of where we want to put our recipe for now. We're going to get started. We'll be able to do this once, and it should give us 3 full belts of hydrogen, and it will give us 2 belts of energetic graphite, if I am counting correctly. So we'll start here, and just like normal, we'll put toward the pole, and on that 5th meridian, we want a row of belts coming out for what is going to be our crude oil, and then we'll have a belt coming back in for energetic graphite, and then we'll have a belt here coming in for hydrogen. And we can do the same thing on the other side here, and a belt for hydrogen here. Now, like I said, we will have 3 full belts of hydrogen, so we'll talk about that in just a little bit. But let's get our refineries placed. Put one here on this meridian, and then we'll put one on either side of him. The one in the middle is going to be for our plasma refining. It uses 2 crude oil per recipe, which is every 4 seconds, so we'll need 24 total, but we're sharing that belt, so it'll only be 12 per side. And he creates 2 refined oil. So we're going to send 1 refined oil to each of the other refineries on either side of him. I'll show you that in just a minute. And then we'll put the hydrogen on the belt here that we use. So let's pick our recipe. We'll take our refined oil here and our refined oil here, and that will provide the refined oil that these guys need. We're going to pick X-ray cracking for them, and they need 1 refined oil every 4 seconds. Well, conveniently, we're creating 2 every 4 seconds, so 1 on each side gives us exactly what we need. Unfortunately, we need 2 hydrogen, and we're only creating, if you'll recall this one over here, if I can get the recipe to pop up, we're only creating 1 hydrogen every 4 seconds. We need 2, but he creates 3, so he can feed himself by putting hydrogen on the belt. Then we'll put our energetic graphene here, and then we'll take hydrogen in from that belt. Now, in order to prime the pump, we'll need to put hydrogen here as well. Then this guy will do the same thing, put his hydrogen on the belt there, put the energetic graphite on the belt there, and take hydrogen in. Now, with all of that done, we should be able to put a couple of Tesla towers down and put a line here for our crude oil that's going in. Oh, we need to copy that recipe over here. And then we can put our bots in, start up our process by demanding crude oil. and then we'll also have output of hydrogen, and we'll have output of energetic graphite. And the reason we're doing this instead of having just a single belt, a single process, as soon as this guy kicks off, we'll get rid of that and we'll push this hydrogen out to the hydrogen belt. All right, he is running, so we can, there we go. We see hydrogen getting created. Let's put this hydrogen out to the belt, and that will help get this guy primed. There we go. Now everything is running. Now, the reason we're doing this instead of like we've done in the past, one per recipe, is we don't want to put hydrogen into our logistics station and have it sucked away by the interstellar logistics station before we can actually use it to create more hydrogen. So if we look here, you can see this recipe keeps getting used and he pulls in exactly what he needs, and we're not backing up here. Here as well, we keep processing and kicking everything out. So we are exactly doing what we want to do. We are going to jump into high speed mode for just a few moments, and I'm going to copy this recipe over. Again, we look at the recipe, let's look at it here. It's 2 crude oil per 4 seconds, so that's 0.5. So a full belt we need 24 refineries to process everything. Since we're using it on either side, it'll be this 12 times, and then the same thing down here 12 times. So high speed mode to get that done. Couple of quick things to note while we're watching this process go through. We do use copy and paste here, but every time we get to the end of the recipe, remember that last refinery needs to be primed before he can start creating enough hydrogen to take care of himself. So we need to prime that last refinery, which you'll see me doing that several times here. Also, this is one of those places where I was extremely liberal with our foundations, not thinking that we were going to run out, but we did. So then when we do this on the opposite side, again, prime this first one just to get him going, make sure everything's looking correctly before we copy and paste, and then we'll copy and paste this one and then prime the last one in the row as well. So just remember, if you do a recipe like this, again, it's not normal, but the only thing we're really here for is this hydrogen. So just remember that you do need to prime the recipe. Okay, we're back, and we can look here and see things are not backing up yet. We have a minor issue that we need to address because, let's come into our inventory this way so we can sort and see that Cajun Tiger forgot to bring all of the thermal power plants that we created. It is, I say, a minor issue because I also did my calculations wrong. I was thinking we were going to be able to build 2 of these arrays. We only built 1, so we only have 1 row, 1 full belt of energetic graphite. All right, let's do this first. We'll turn our hydrogen on to local demand, give him some bots or some drones, get all of this powered up, and let him start collecting the hydrogen. And then we're going to come down here real quick. We've got a couple of places that we can help solve our issue. I'm going to put out one of our new miners, and you're going to listen to, we are all going to listen to the advisor tell us about the miner.
You've built an advanced mining machine. It can cover more veins and transport ores by logistics drones in addition to conveyor belts. You can also adjust the mining speed and configurations. Faster mining speed means higher power consumption.
Okay, we have everything we need from this one. I will show you when we do the next one. Basically, this means this is part of our logistics network. He doesn't get bots of his own, or drones or anything like that, but we can request, and this will provide. So let's go grab a little bit, oops, trying to do exactly what it was asking me to do. That is what I wanted to do. All right, let's go grab a little bit of a little bit of copper and a little bit of stone from over here. And I will show you what he was talking about speed. It does cost more power if you use more speed. So you want to be careful about that. Let's put one here for that and one here for stone. And we'll limit this guy to 0. And we'll limit this guy to 100, but we are going to increase his speed. Okay, so let's actually keep him up while we put our Tesla towers out. One for there and one for here, and you can see he goes a lot faster because of speed. It does increase the power usage. If you look at the usage, it will increase it a lot more when he's running full speed. So be aware of that if you decide to use these advanced miners. They are very much worth it just to get things directly into the logistics network. But for us, we just needed them to create a few more, 3 more generators, and then we can come here, and like I said, I did the numbers wrong already once, so we only need to do our 2 of our yellow belt power generations here. So we'll put foundation down here where we can till we run out at least, and that will help compensate us for some of the soil pile that we used already. There we are, we're all out. All right, let's put our generator powers, our generator blueprints down. One there and one here. And while that's being built, we can come look at our power and see that our sufficiency, we look good there. Let's come into this one, it's a little bit easier to see. We can see that our sufficiency is doing pretty good, not great, but it will get better as we start feeding these generators. So what we'll do on our next episode, we now have the ability to use this graphite. We also have the ability for our hydrogen. Oh, that is one thing we wanted to look at. We see warpers already coming and going. With hydrogen, they are headed back to Pixidus so they can take our hydrogen back. So we have helped solve our hydrogen problems, and that is a good thing. So next episode, we will look at our power utilization. We're probably going to get rid of some of these solar panels because we probably don't need them on this world anymore with all of the generators running. And we will take care of that and head over to the other world and do some sulfur in our next episode. Until then, remember players, all your base are belong to us. Keep building, team.